About the quarter pole now, and your fighting Phils are in first place. How's it happen? Listen to Craig Calcaterra on NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 live sports talk network, which you can listen to at NBCSportsRadio.com and download the NBC Sports Radio mobile app today. Craig, you must have the answer how the Phillies at the quarter pole are in first place.
No, I don't have the answer, actually. It's sort of defying physics. Yeah, if you look at, I'm sure you guys in Philly and New Jersey and stuff have talked this to death already, but, if you look at run differential, I'm a big proponent of run differential as being a good predictor of how a team's supposed to be doing. That really helps. If you look at just how many runs they've scored and how many they've given up, they should be 7 games under 500 right now. That's not to say that these wins didn't count. Of course they counted. They're in the bank, but they've won a lot of close games that maybe they wouldn't have been expected otherwise. They've gotten a lot of low-scoring games with their good pitching. Are they playing above their head a little bit? But this is the fantastic and sort of quintessential shape of a good rebuild. It starts with pitching. It starts with winning these tight games. It starts with having the bullpen support young pitching and not have them get disillusioned because they didn't get a lot of run support and lost. And in this case, they're not getting a lot of run support, but they're winning some of these games. And it's got to be really encouraging for the young arms. I think that once the weather starts getting warmer and these guys get around the league a little bit more and get a little tired, they're going to have some problems. And I really don't think this is a above 500 type of team. But so far, it's been quite a ride.
It sure has. Now, I think most people are like you, Craig, where they're just kind of like, well, at some point, the odds will fall out of their favor. They're going to lose these one-run games. They're going to blow a save here and there. When is there a date when you start to say, you know what, you got to take this team serious? Is there like that time in the baseball season where, like the Astros last year, where you're just like, you know what, this team's good. We just got to face facts. Now, you're seeing this year that maybe they weren't as good as when they looked last year, but is there a point in time in this baseball season, if the Phillies get to that point, where we might have to accept them?
Well, traditionally people say Memorial Day. Heck, that's a week from Monday, for crying out loud. That is not too long from now. I think that kind of analysis has to go out the window. Last year I was interviewing some player. AJ Przinsky was one. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's been around a long time and he's a pretty smart guy. And he said that whole analysis doesn't even matter anymore, what date, because you have 2 wild cards. Heck, it could be any date. You could play kind of mediocre baseball for half the season and get hot in August, and all of a sudden you're in the conversation. And a team right now like the Twins, who are horrible, stinking up the joint, they were only a game out of the wild card at the end of last year. As far as are they for real or not, I don't think I put a date on it. I just keep looking at the standings, and if they're still hanging around, they're for real. I mean, it's like I said, wins are in the bank, and with 2 wild cards, anything is possible. You get one big injury on a team like the Mets, or you get somebody like the Giants or one of the NL Central teams falling out of it. All of a sudden, the Phillies are a legit contender. I don't think it's going to happen, but you can't rule it out.
Craig Calcaterra is talking baseball with us. Phillies GM Matt Klentak said the other day that if the Phillies can continue this, he would certainly be willing to seek some upgrades in the summer market when the trades come in. My question really is, would it behoove them to not make trades? Would it just be, whatever happens this year happens, or do you think they owe it to this group to try to add something if it is at all possible?
That is the most difficult position for a general manager of a rebuilding team to be in. If they're ahead of the game and all of a sudden you got to change the plan. I mean, Klentak will never say, I hope we start losing so I don't have to make that choice. You always have to talk about wanting to win now, no matter what your overall plan is. But in some ways, it kind of would be a mistake, I think, to trade prospects or to trade arms or anything like that for a shot at a half a season rental of a decent bat. And but how do you portray that to fans? I mean, fans want wins, and if the playoffs are close, you sort of have to do something. But it's a very, very tough decision on how much you're going to risk a rebuild that you think is going to take 2 or 3 years at least to try to go for some short-term gain. I don't know if I would want to make that kind of trade.
Hey, Craig, you mentioned Memorial Day is kind of a date that teams used to look at it. With that second wild card, how has that changed the trade deadline and the trade rumors and the trade talk? Are teams looking now to try to do some things? How has the second wild card trade changed the trade deadline?
In the last few years, it's slowed it down tremendously. It's made trades far less frequent. Everybody thinks they're kind of in it, and it's much harder, certainly from the box office point of view, to raise the white flag and start shopping guys. So every team is looking for a little something, or if they're not really seriously looking for something, they're certainly not looking to trade big pieces, because the minute you make public that you're putting a big name out on the market, you're signaling to your fans that they can give up on the season. They'll stop coming, and it's very difficult to do that when you are still only 2 or 3 or even 4 games away from a playoff slot. Yeah, the second wild card is not as glorified a playoff slot as winning the division, but it's something that fans can cling to, and it makes the trade deadline difficult. No one wants to really be the first one to raise the white flag.
Craig Calcaterra is with us, NBC Sports Radio, and you look at, Craig, where the Phillies are, by the way, with 24 wins, which I think is just second best in the entire league. I mean, does that show you the wide-open nature of both leagues here? I mean, other than the Cubs, who have kind of most people think are the best team, are there clear-cut teams that you think will start pulling away, or do you think this will be a jumbled, fun race through the whole summer?
Well, I think the American League is going to be a mess all year. Even going into the season, it didn't look like there were any truly, truly bad teams, although the Twins are definitely proving that there are. But a lot of teams that were good but flawed. I think the entire American League East is one starter away from doing something special. The West is kind of a jumble right now, and maybe the best team is in last place and their best baseball is ahead of them, and that can be a race all year. National League, beginning of the season, it looked like it'd be some alpha teams. You figured that the Mets, the Nationals, the Cubs, maybe the Cardinals and Pirates, and Dodgers, probably, maybe Giants would be all the favorites, and I think they still will be at the end of the year. But a lot more parity showing right now in the National League. The Phillies, the Marlins are playing good baseball. The Rockies are even a winning team right now. That's kind of crazy, and it's just making it a lot more parity, a lot more competitive.
We looked at last time we talked, Craig, we asked you about Mike Trout, and the Angels have said they have received 0 trade offers for Mike Trout. Do you anticipate somebody making a call?
I think that they're going to wait for the Angels to make the call. If you're calling the Angels right now for an offer for Mike Trout, you better blow him out of the water and make a ridiculous offer. I think that the Angels have to be the ones to move first, because no one is going to want to pay what an Angels team that says it's not trading Mike Trout will want for him. They're going to want a bucket load of prospects. Certainly they're going to have to take on, whoever trades for him is going to have to take on his very large contract. That's a lot to ask, and I think it'll be a lot harder to trade Mike Trout, especially during the season, than people think. If he gets dealt, my guess would be it would be next winter, not this season. I'll
leave you with this, Craig. What did you think of the way the Braves handled that managerial firing and then hiring?
Not the best. You find out, Freddie Gonzalez found out because he got the automated, Delta Airlines, your flight tomorrow is booked notification on his cell phone. That's not cool when your team's not supposed to be leaving Pittsburgh for a couple of days. Things happen, modern technology. I just hope that he got to use the miles for it.
Craig Calcaterra on NBC Sports Radio, the 24/7 Live Sports Talk Network. You can listen to him at NBCSportsRadio.com. Download their mobile app today. Thank you, Craig.
Cool. Thank you very much.